Hey guys, y'all should have been working more on your eSparks Learning site during these NTI days, and y'all should have taken your pre-test for our new standard, which is Story Elements. And our new standard is standard RL.5.3, and it is I can identify the similarities and differences between characters, settings, and events in a story. So pretty much what that means is we're going to be going over different story elements, and story elements are just the things within a story that make the story what it is. So for example, we have settings, character, plot, conflict, theme, point of view, resolution, all the different things in a story that make the story what it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over examples of different story elements from a story that I'm pretty sure most people are familiar with, and it's Cinderella. And I chose this because I feel like most people know the plot of Cinderella and what happens in the story. So our first story element is setting. So setting is when and where the story takes place. In Cinderella, where does the story take place? It takes place in a magical kingdom far away. Our next one is characters, and character is anything personified. So it doesn't have to be a human being. It's anything with human traits that, like someone that was a part of the story. So characters in Cinderella, we have Cinderella, we have the evil stepsister, the evil stepmother, we have the fairy godmother, we have Prince Charming. Those are some of the characters that made up the story of Cinderella. Plot, what happens in the story? Plot is our introduction, our rising action, our climax, our falling action, and our resolution. So in Cinderella, our plot is the introduction. It shows us that she lives with her evil stepmother and evil stepsisters, and she gets treated horribly. All she does is cook and clean. Eventually, she meets this Prince Charming who falls in love with her. She meets her fairy godmother who turns her into a beautiful princess. She goes to the ball and she has to be back by 12, and she leaves her glass slipper. And then the prince finds a glass slipper. The prince finds who she is, and he puts the glass slipper on her, and it fits. And everything turns out happily ever after. Conflict. Conflict is the problem in the story. Every story has a conflict that has to be solved. The conflict in Cinderella, she loses her slipper at the ball. Theme. Theme is the lesson the author wants to get across. So the theme in Cinderella, a lot of people think it could be good versus evil, because Cinderella is good, obviously, and her evil stepmother and evil stepsisters are evil. And a lot of people think that another theme could be kindness coming out better in the end. And this could be a theme because, well, Cinderella was kind and good, and in the end, she was the one that came out on top. She was the one that the Prince Charming chose for at the end. Point of view. Point of view is what the author is trying to, no, point of view is who is telling the story, sorry. We can have first person, we can have third person. Cinderella, the author is telling the story and he's saying, Cinderella did this, Cinderella did that. It's not saying, I went to the ball, I lost my slipper. So Cinderella is in third person. Tone. Tone is the emotion of the story. Is it happy? Is it sad? Is it funny? The beginning of Cinderella, whenever it talks about the way she lives and her evil stepmother and stepsister and how she gets treated, how she can't go to the ball, the tone is very bitter, talking about the things she isn't allowed to do. And towards the end, when things start going her way and when she gets her happy ever after, her tone gets a lot more happy and a lot more magical. So those are some point of views or some story elements for Cinderella. Next, we're going to read a short story out of this book. This book is called The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Tales. And this is a book that I would read when I was in about 5th grade. Just funny tales, and we're going to read this short story and we're going to do a graphic organizer about some of the bigger story elements in the story. All right, so this story is called The Princess and the Bowling Ball. So once upon a time, there was a prince, and this prince's dad and mom, the king and queen, somehow got it into their royal heads that no princess would be good enough for their boy unless she could feel a pea through 100 mattresses. So it should come as no surprise that the prince had a very hard time finding a princess. Every time he met a nice girl, his mom and dad would pile 100 mattresses on top of a pea and then invite her to sleep over. When the princess came down for breakfast, the queen would ask, "How did you sleep, dear?" The princess would politely say, "Fine, thank you," and the king would show her the door. Now, this went on for 3 years. And of course, nobody ever felt the pea under 100 mattresses. Then one day, the prince met the girl of his dreams. He decided he better do something about it. That night, before the princess went to bed, the prince slipped his bowling ball under 100 mattresses. When the princess came down for breakfast the next morning, the queen asked, "How did you sleep, dear?" "This might sound odd," said the princess, "but I think you need another mattress. I felt like I was sleeping on a lump as big as a bowling ball." The king and queen were satisfied. The prince and princess were married, and everyone lived happily, though maybe not completely honestly ever after. The end. So there's our story, and we do have a cute little picture of the new princess and all the mattresses, and then the huge bowling ball that the prince put underneath all the mattresses. So we are going to do a graphic organizer, and we have this one. I'm going to try to do it so you all can see it while I write on it. We have setting, and it actually never tells the setting of the story. It just says once upon a time. So what we're going to write is once upon a time. And we're going to write a kingdom far, far away, because that's usually where fairy tales are set. Far, far away. I want to make sure you guys can see that. All right, characters. So the first characters it talks about is the prince. The prince. And then the next characters it talks about is the prince's mom and dad, which are the king and queen. So king and queen. The next characters are all the other princesses it talks about. It talks about the other princesses that never really made it. He says they're nice girls. So we're going to put the nice princesses. And then it talks about the princess in the end. That's the girl of his dreams. And we're just going to call her the princess because she is the main princess in the story. All right, let me move this so I can write better. All right, the problem. What's the problem in the story? Well, the prince can't marry anyone until they can sleep on a mattress and feel the pea at the bottom of the mattress with 100 mattresses. So can't marry anyone until they can feel the pea under 100 mattresses. All right, so we have our setting, character, problem, and our resolution. What was the resolution that the prince had for his problem? Well, once he met the girl of his dreams, he put a bowling ball underneath the 100 mattresses, so she would be able to feel them. So we have our setting and once upon a time in a kingdom far away. We have our characters, prince, king and queen, the other nice princesses, and then the princess that the prince met, that was the girl of his dreams. What was our problem? Well, he can't marry anyone until they can feel the pea under 100 mattresses, which he knew was impossible. So he came up with a resolution, which was putting a bowling ball underneath the 100 mattresses. All right. So clearly I wish we could have done, that graphic organizer in person, and you all could have had your own ideas for it. But I hope that you guys liked that story. That was always a story that I liked when I was younger. So pretty much from this lesson, I hope that y'all got like what each all the different kind of story elements mean, and you guys got some examples of them, of setting, character, plot, conflict, theme, resolution, point of view, tone. I told you all some examples of it with the Cinderella, and then we read a story and we did our graphic organizer about it. So once again, our standard was standard RL.5.3, which was I can identify the similarities and differences between characters, settings, and events in a story. So what you all have to do now is you all have to work on your quest for story elements for this standard on esparkslearning.com, and you all will have a post test. And me and Miss Bartley will be able to see the score of this post test. And if y'all do not get the score of 80 or above, you will have to redo the post test. If y'all clearly are not getting the concept, you'll have to redo the quest, but I don't think that's gonna happen. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have fun learning more on your eSparks Learning site.